What happened to Dead by Daylight? A lot of stuff has been going on lately. And also, hi, it's been 4 months since I've had any consistency in my YouTube uploads. I'm sorry, very washed YouTuber here. I've got a lot of questions where I went, and well, it's kind of burnout is the easiest way to put it. I've seen a lot of people, content creators, and just normal players take break from the game, and I think that's mostly because of the incredible content drought we've got going on. There's not really much new happening, as well as extremely stale metas and stale gameplay. Now, what do I mean when I say stale meta? It's mostly to do with like the past month or so of just gen kicking. Eruption was a big issue where every game you go into, there would be like 3-4 gen perks and the game would never end. So it would become really exhausting to play. Now, content-wise, I think last year of DBD was great. I think it was pretty good until we made it to the night. I'm sure if anybody watches my streams, they can tell that I do not like Face of the Night. He is the first killer in several years that I have not bought. I gave him a shot in the PTB, and like everyone else, I went through the honeymoon phase of, oh, this is cool. Well, this is new content. It's all right. And then when it came to live service, ooh, it was not great. And I dread facing him on Survivor. While it's not exactly the player's fault, he is kind of designed for camping. The art team did an amazing job with Night. It looks aesthetically really pleasing. But playstyle, it's just not fun. It's not fun like whatsoever. And of course, that's subjective. Fun is subjective. You are not entitled necessarily to have a good time. You're not responsible for the other side's fun, is what I'm basically trying to say. However, there are some people who take that and just want to make people's lives miserable, such as players who play Night and they want to extend the game to a full hour on Dead Dog they refuse to pick up. In these situations, I just say GG, go next, it's whatever. But I can definitely see why the average player would see this is really frustrating. And that kind of contributes to the whole burnout and stale meta that a lot of people are experiencing. And the meta can also be particularly bad on both sides. While Killer was made decently easier last year with cooldown reduction and basically save the best for last face kit, the meta can still be kind of aggravating. Don't get me wrong, I play Survivor and Killer, and it blows to go against a killer who is running 4 slowdown. It's not fun whatsoever. Hey man, I just want to run my fun builds, okay? I don't know anything else other than head on and flashbang, okay? I'm not there to sweat. Just want to have a good time, and usually what happens for me is I get tunneled off of hook every time. And while that is fun, and I get more attention from the killer, and I can chase a lot. I love chasing. If you just constantly get tunneled right off hook over and over and over, and then sequentially bled out every time, it just feels like a chore to play Survivor. And the same goes for on killer side as well. I particularly like to play Billy a lot. I don't really like to use slowdown, but it feels like when I'm at high MMR and I try to just enjoy myself, gens go and the game is finished in like 3 minutes because everybody's running gen perks. And do I blame them? No, not really at all. It's frustrating. It's frustrating games go like that fast, and it feels like I have to sweat my nuts off to even compete. But it makes total sense. DBD is in a never-ending cycle at this moment where survivors are thinking, okay, I'm sick and tired of going against these tunneling killers and these killers who only kick gens. Let's just bring a full gen rush build and all these meta perks to avoid getting tunneling and bled out and so on and so forth. And then on the killer side, it's like I'm sick of all these survivors gen rushing. They're such bullies. Let me bring 4 slowdown. It is a never-ending cycle, and unless a significant change is made to the game or to the meta, it is going to continue to be like that, unfortunately. I understand both sides, but nevertheless, it is still very frustrating to encounter. As much as I love behavior, they kind of seem to go up and down with how much they're vocal with the community. They have good spurts like the last year and the anniversary. They're really transparent. And then they kind of just get comfortable and they kind of come and close back off again for some reason. Future Rapid cutting in for a second just to say that behavior is also really dropping the ball right now. A lot of streamers and content creators have been getting DDoSed recently on the servers, which was very prominent during the cheater epidemic. And it seems that they have not solved it. They've known about it internally for a couple years now, and still nothing is done about it, and they're not really talking about it, being vocal enough nearly. And apparently even these DDoSers are getting through people's VPNs. So even if you're on a VPN, well, I guess you're just gonna have to reset your IP or something. I've already been DDoSed in my last stream, so not really sure when they're gonna fix this issue, but kind of another lack of transparency that Behavior is seeing. That's all I gotta say. On with the rest of it. The most recent chapter as well, Skull Merchant. There was a lot of hype around it, and even I was getting super excited because this was the first chapter in forever that we haven't experienced any leaks in. I really like the tinfoil hat conspiracy that the entire community had regarding new chapters and new content, because it was actually fun when people just posted what the new killer was going to be, new perks, new map. It just became really boring. I liked being surprised. And even then, Behavior posted on Twitter these new boxes on Shelter Woods that we didn't know what the purpose were. And some people were theorizing, oh, these boxes might make the killer be able to upgrade their weapon in the trial. And then we found out that their name was Skull Merchant through the tags on the Steam page. And we were just getting really hyped. And to be fair, it is kind of my fault as well for getting my hopes a little too high with it as well. I was hoping for a blood point market. And when PTV came, a lot of people were unhappy. Personally, I was kind of unhappy, but then I realized, okay, I'm not a big fan of the killer. I don't dislike facing against her. She's okay to face against, no problem whatsoever. And even the Shelter maps rework didn't have anything against that, because the original Shelter Woods was kind of empty, and it was a step up in my eyes to the Forged in Fog chapter, because I hated the map. The Borgo is a mess. I think this chapter is definitely not as bad as the Night, but still a little underwhelming. Hell, even the Mori seemed really boring. They did change it slightly from the PTV to live servers, but not really enough to the point where it's a really fascinating Mori. I mean, even the Mori itself isn't a big deal, because hey, someone could have a fantastic Mori and the killer be terrible. You know, Knight's Mori, sick, really cool, but a pain in the ass to play against. And it also goes into licenses. I get asked all the time, what license do you want to see in DBD? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Certain licenses could be sick. I would love to see a certain license in, but if it's not executed properly, it's just going to be all the same. It's just going to be unfun to play against, not fun to play as. But there was a whole nother aspect of making the health of the game and the longevity decrease, I'd say, is the quality of new releases and how a lot of things just seem rushed. This goes back to an old argument that we had last year. They should stop releasing content and just do an Operation Health chapter like Rainbow Six Siege. What definitely made me sad about last year is some removal of fun mechanics. Again, I sound like a broken record when it comes to this, but they removed Sky Billy and Space Billy. It was purely just for fun, something that you would have to practice for hours to be able to pull off in a pub game. No one really is against playing against that type of thing, but Behavior has removed fun mechanics like that, which is kind of disappointing. And while Behavior did implement good changes last year, they got rid of all the cheater epidemic. Hopefully it's gone for good. We'll have to see. And while they did create more mechanics like the finisher Mori, base kit Unbreakable, and all these fascinating ideas, they haven't really implemented them. And it makes me particularly worried, because what's going to happen when more games come out and Behavior finally gets some competition? I mean, we've been saying this for a very long time, but as we've seen, most ASIMs can't really compete with DBD because of how many licenses Behavior has under their belt. Hell, Behavior's even making a movie for DBD soon. My initial break from content creation started back in October of last year when I went to TwitchCon. I flew across the entire country to California to attend, and it was awesome. I got to meet so many awesome people, so many great friends and fellow content creators that I met through content creation, and I would not change a single thing. I even got to meet some awesome fans, which was the most surreal part about going, being noticed several times while walking through TwitchCon's halls. And for that, I'm really grateful. But that was the first week in a really long time that I could actually devote my energy that I used to grinding content to just relaxing. And it made me reflect on how I was living at the time, and I realized I was not living too healthily, and I needed to make a change. I was sometimes forcing myself to play a game that I was not always enjoying. When I got back, I took a little bit of a break from myself. I wanted to change some things. So without rambling for too long, I went outside and I touched some grass. No, but really, I joined a gym, and since then I've lost about 35 pounds, which I am a lot happier with. So with that, I do think I am ready to come back to content creation, because I'm a lot healthier now, and I'm chilling. I'm good. So I'm ready to get on the grind again. And that means tomorrow, my next video will be out. And what is it? You'll just have to see. Just wait. I know. You've waited this long. You'll wait a couple more hours, right? But yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble this entire time. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Cheers.